Hi, third grade friends. How are you? I hope you had a nice weekend. Happy Monday. I hope everybody's ready for a new unit today. I wanted to take time this morning to introduce you to our new unit of writing poetry. I'm hoping you have a little bit of familiarity with poetry. I know probably you did a lot of reading of poems in kindergarten. You may have learned a lot about poems in first grade or second grade, but poetry is one of the units at third grade towards the end of the year that we like to make sure that we accomplish in third grade before the end of the year. And I thought since we've got a pretty good chunk of time, what I thought we could do is maybe learn a poem a week. And over the course of the next few weeks, you'd end up with a really nice poetry portfolio by the time that we were done. So, poetry. The first poem that we're going to start off with is a haiku poem. Now, poems, some of them have very specific formulas and formats that you have to follow. Poems can be all different. Sometimes poems can be funny, sometimes they can be rhyming, they can be silly, they can be short, they can be really, really long. Poems can be very, very different. All of the poems that I'll be teaching you about the next couple weeks will have a specific formula that will follow. Sometimes I call it a poem recipe. To make the poem exactly what it's supposed to be, what you'll have to do is follow that recipe. Just like when you bake cake or you make cookies or you do something like that at home in your kitchen, you follow the recipe, and at the end, hopefully you have a beautiful, gorgeous baked good that you've made. Hopefully at the end of our poetry unit, if you followed the recipes for all of these poems, you'll have a nice portfolio of different kinds of works of poems. So the first poem that we're going to work on is called a haiku. And a haiku poem, big reveal here, we'll stop right there. It's actually a Japanese kind of poem. It's a very traditional, old form of poetry. And the thing that's unique about haikus is that usually they're always written about things in nature. So you wouldn't ever really read a haiku poem about a football game or a soccer ball or a race car, a video game, a house, a building, a skyscraper. Like, you wouldn't read a haiku poem about that. Haiku poems are usually written about topics in nature. And you might think that maybe there's really not a lot of things in nature that you can write about, but there's actually lots of things you can write about. Some famous haiku poems and poems that you can do, you can write about the seasons, you can write about animals, you can write about plants, you can write about trees, flowers, you can do winter, spring, summer, fall, you can write about the weather, you can write about animals, any kind of animal that you'd find in any habitat, usually not pets. You know, I guess you could, since it is an animal, but usually people, when they write about haikus about animals, usually they're animals in nature, you know, the forest or the ocean, in a natural habitat. You can write about objects found in nature or the sky, like if you want to write about the sun or the moon or the stars or the planets or the clouds, the weather, a tornado, a storm, a snowstorm, a rainstorm, a rainbow, lots of different things that you can write about in nature. So if you think about it, there really are a ton of ideas of things that you can write about. So this is the first thing that you need to remember about a haiku, is that you need to pick a topic that has to do with nature. The next thing that you have to know about a haiku is that there's a specific recipe or a formula that you need to follow. And the recipe, sorry, that's crooked, that's bothering me. The recipe for a haiku is based on syllables. Now, a syllable is a chunk or a unit of a word, and I think we've practiced this a little bit before. So syllables in words, you can have a one-word syllable, which kind of means there's like one beat. So if I said the word red, fish, wind, rock, snow, those would all have one syllable in them. If I thought of some two-syllable words, I would maybe think of snowstorm, thunder, flower, purple, rainbow. Trying to think of these off the top of my head. And you might be able to think of some longer words like beautiful. would have 3 syllables. Magnificent would have 4. If you had 2 words, like if you wanted to write something about a killer whale, would have 3. So you have to be careful because you don't want to count the words. So you don't want to be writing your words down yet until you get the beats in your head of the syllables. Now a haiku follows the recipe. It has 3 lines, and each line follows a pattern of the syllables. So the first line has 5 syllables, the second line has 7 syllables, and the third line has 5 again. And you have to remember, you must be exact. You can't have 2 more or 2 less. So if you're trying to say something about a poem in your head and you're counting up the syllables, you have to make the words fit the beats of the syllables to follow the formula or the recipe of that poem. So I have a couple for you to see if we can go over them. So the first one I have is about beaches, and sometimes haikus have titles and sometimes they don't, so that might be something that you maybe want to include in your poem, maybe you don't. There's a couple other examples that I have where they don't have titles in another specific kind of haiku, which is kind of fun. But the title of this poem, this haiku, is Beaches. So if I just read it, the 3 lines to you, it says, sand scatters the beach, waves crash on the sandy shore, blue water shimmers. Sounds like exactly where I'd like to be right now, honestly. But let's take a look at the lines. Sand scatters the beach. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 4 words in the first line, but remember, we're not counting the words, we're counting the syllables. So what I like to do sometimes is close my eyes and I like to say the words, and you have to count the beats of the words. So I would say sand scatters the beach. I don't know why. It's easier with your eyes closed. Sand scatters the beach. That's 5 syllables. Waves crash on the sandy shore. 7. And then 5 syllables. Blue water shimmers. So I have a different amount of words in my line, in each of my lines of the poem, but remember, I'm not counting the words, I'm counting the syllables, and you have to make the syllables fit the poem. So I have 5 syllables, I have 7 syllables, and I have 5 syllables. I have 3 lines, and I'm talking about something in nature. So I have a successful haiku. Now let's see, if I move this down a little bit, I may have to move my other chart paper up. Move the phone. This was one of my favorite haikus that I found. I hope you can see that, and then I'll move the chart paper up a little bit. It was a haiku about a tree, and when I saw it, the artist and the author had written the poem inside a tree and then drawn the tree outside the haiku, and it was beautiful. So this is the haiku about the tree. Blowing through the wind, a strong, worn, thorny tree stands 200 years old. So let's take a look at the syllables quickly. Blowing through the wind. 5 syllables. A strong, worn, thorny tree stands. 7 syllables. 200 years old. 5 syllables. So I have 5, 7, 5. Now there's a lot of words in that line there. A lot of describing words, a lot of action words and verbs that you may have to come up with and practice with them when you do your haikus. And you may have to manipulate them a little bit in your head to make sure that the words come out exactly the way that you want them to be. So I'm going to move this last one up because I really like this one. It's cute, and this is a really fun kind of haiku that a lot of kids like to write. It's called a Who Am I? Sorry, while I stand up. Okay, I think you can see that. It's called a What Am I or Who Am I haiku. And this says, I have yellow stripes. I fly to all the flowers. I make the honey. I think you can probably tell that that's about a bee, right? A bumblebee. But let's count our syllables. I have yellow stripes. I fly to all the flowers. I make the honey. it fits. So this is a haiku. It's got the 3 lines, 5 syllables, 5 syllables, 5 syllables. And this would be a what am I or who am I poem. So now I'm going to do just maybe one more off the top of my head to see what you think of this and see if maybe you can kind of follow the process a little bit of how to make a haiku. And usually what you want to do is just think of something in nature or think something up off the top of your head. Like right now I think it's spring, although you wouldn't know it was spring the way that we've been having snow the past couple days. But spring reminds me of baby birds. And I would kind of like imagine that in my head and what would those baby birds be doing. And I would think, oh, maybe baby birds would be sitting in a nest. So baby birds in a nest. So let's count the syllables. Baby birds in a nest. Too many. Because remember, I have to have 5 syllables. I have to have 7 syllables. And then 5 syllables. So I have a little problem because that sentence had 6. So baby birds. Maybe just birds. Birds in a nest. That's only 4 syllables. So maybe what do baby birds do? Baby birds cheep. Cheeping birds in a nest. Nope. I'm not doing very well with my baby birds, am I? But I'm really just literally doing this off the top of my head. How about just baby birds? What else do they do? Cheeping. Baby birds cheeping. Or chirping? Chirping. Cheeping. I think they cheep. They cheep, cheep, cheep. Cheep. Little birds cheep. Baby birds cheeping. So let's do that for our first sentence. So, baby birds cheeping. And sometimes what you can do if you want to double check the syllable is you can do baby birds cheeping. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I know that I have 5 syllables for sure. So now I need 7. So maybe I would think, why are those baby birds cheeping? They're probably hungry. They want some worms and they want their mother, right? So let's see. Hungry for worms. Hungry for worms in the morning. Too many. Hungry for worms. Bring them quick. I don't know. They really want their mom. They're cheeping. Hungry for worms for breakfast. That'll work. Hungry for worms for breakfast. Hungry for worms for breakfast. So let me write that down. Hungry for worms for... Oh, I'm gonna run out of room. Oh, I don't want to write on the wall. I'll be in big trouble if I write on the wall. So, hungry for worms for breakfast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. Okay, so we've got 5. We've got 7. We need 5 more. So after they get their worms, probably, right? They're quiet and happy. Happy when mom arrives. Too many. 6. Happy when mom shows up. Nope, too many. Happy when mom comes. Happy when mom comes. Let me write that down before I forget. Okay, happy when mom comes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yay! So we have a successful haiku, baby birds cheeping, hungry for worms for breakfast, happy when mom comes. Nice! We did a haiku. Well, I did a haiku. You were watching, but we did it together. Yay! This is very hard not having you here to help me, because usually you come up with such great ideas when we do things like this in a lesson on chart paper. You're always here to give me ideas and suggestions, and that makes it go a little bit faster and a little bit better. So I'm trying, doing all this off the top of my head. So anyway, so that's a haiku poem. You need to remember it has 5 syllables, 7 syllables, and then 5 syllables. So count your beats, underline the beats in each word to help you. Count out the words on your fingers. You may have to keep guessing and checking like I did. Think about a little situation. Think about something in nature that you want to talk about, that you want to imagine or you want to portray. And then you can give your haiku a title. I could call this breakfast or birds or baby birds. I probably wouldn't make this a what am I haiku, because I'm not really giving clues. I could do another one like that if I wanted to, about baby birds. But yeah, so that's our haiku poem. So if you can think of some things that you would like to do this week to write about haiku poems, what I want you to do is to make some kind of folder or a special place to put them where you can make a portfolio. Remember how we did like our snowflake writing, and for our national park project, how about, you know, whenever we do something, we kind of put it in a folder made out of construction paper, or if you have an empty folder or a blank folder at home, see if you can find a special place to put them, because you're going to have lots and lots and lots of rough drafts. And then what we'll do eventually to publish our poems is I'll have you go through and pick some of your favorite ones, and then we'll make a poetry portfolio that you can put your favorite ones in, that you get to illustrate and copy over to make the way you want them to be, to publish them, because as an author, that's what you want to do. You want to publish your writing so you can share it with others. So anyway, thank you for joining me today. I hope you like haikus. I hope you have fun with them this week. If you write a couple, send them to me. I'd love to see them. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you soon. Bye.